Captain Kim Tae-ho walked slowly through the massive doors of the Federation Council chamber. His black uniform looked strange without the golden stripes and medals he had worn for 15 years. 2 alien guards followed behind him, their weapons ready but not drawn. The sound of his boots on the marble floor echoed in the huge room. The chamber was built to make humans feel small. Tall pillars reached toward a ceiling painted with scenes of alien worlds. Around the circular room, representatives from dozens of species sat in high chairs, looking down at the single chair placed in the center. Most of them had never liked humans much. Today they would get their chance to show it. Council Prime Veltar rose from the highest seat. His green scales caught the light as he moved. His yellow eyes fixed on Tae-ho with cold satisfaction. Behind him, holographic displays showed images of the battle at Kepler 442b. Burning ships. Destroyed cities. Human colonists running for their lives. Captain Kim Tae-ho, Veltar's voice carried easily through the chamber. You stand accused of violating Galactic Accord 447. You disobeyed direct orders from this council. You attacked hegemony forces during a ceasefire negotiation. How do you answer? Tae-ho stood straight. His dark eyes met Veltar's without fear. I protected human civilians from an unprovoked attack. That is my duty as a Federation officer. Angry voices filled the chamber. Several alien representatives shouted in their own languages. Veltar raised a clawed hand for silence. Your duty, he said slowly, is to follow orders from this council. We ordered all Federation forces to withdraw from Kepler 442b. The hegemony had agreed to occupy the planet peacefully. Your interference caused the death of thousands. The hegemony was slaughtering civilians, Tae-ho replied. His voice stayed calm, but his hands made fists at his sides. The colony of New Busan had 40,000 people. Men, women, children. I saw their distress signals. I could not abandon them. 40,000 humans, said another council member, this one with 4 arms and blue skin. Against galactic peace for trillions. The choice was obvious. Tae-ho looked around the chamber. Not one human face looked back at him. Earth had 3 representatives on the council, but they sat silent in their chairs. They would not speak for him. They cared more about keeping their positions than protecting their own people. The colony is gone now, Veltar continued. The hegemony withdrew their peace offer. They destroyed New Busan completely rather than occupy it. Every human there died because of your actions. They died because aliens wanted their world, Tae-ho said. And because this council was willing to trade human lives for a false peace. The chamber erupted in angry voices again. This time Veltar let them continue for several minutes. When quiet finally returned, he smiled, showing sharp teeth. For your crimes against galactic stability, this council strips you of rank, citizenship, and all rights under Federation law. You will be given a basic survival ship and exiled beyond the galactic rim. You are forbidden from returning to Federation space on pain of death. Tae-ho nodded once. He had expected this. The Federation had been moving away from human interests for years. Earth's government cared more about pleasing alien powers than protecting human colonies. This trial was just an excuse to remove an officer who still believed in protecting his own species. Do you have any final words? Veltar asked. Yes, Tae-ho said. He looked directly at the alien representatives who had condemned him. You think humans are weak. You think we are expendable. You believe that exiling one man will solve your problems. He paused. You are wrong about all of that. History will remember this day, but not the way you expect. 2 hours later, Tae-ho sat in the pilot seat of a small transport ship. It had basic life support, a short-range sensor array, and enough food for 3 months. The Federation expected him to find some empty world and die quietly. That was what happened to most exiles. The ship's engines powered up. Through the viewport, he could see the massive space station that housed the Federation government. Thousands of ships moved around it like insects. Military vessels, trade ships, diplomatic transports. All serving the system that had just thrown him away. His ship accelerated toward the galactic rim. Behind him, the lights of civilization grew smaller. Ahead lay the dark space beyond mapped territory. Unknown worlds. Unexplored systems. Most contained nothing but empty rock and ice. After 3 weeks of travel, his sensors detected something unusual. A single planet orbited a dying red star. The world showed signs of ancient construction. Geometric shapes too regular to be natural. Tae-ho adjusted course to investigate. The planet's surface was covered in strange ruins. Massive crystal towers rose from desert plains. Metal structures formed perfect spirals and circles. Everything was old beyond measure but somehow still intact. When Taeho's ship landed, the crystals began to glow. Soft blue light pulsed through the transparent structures. The glow grew brighter as he walked closer. When he placed his hand on the nearest tower, warm energy flowed up his arm. Images flooded his mind. Star maps, technical diagrams, historical records. The crystals were showing him the history of their builders. An ancient race that had ruled this region of space millions of years ago. They had built an empire that spanned thousands of worlds. And according to the genetic records stored in the crystals, humans carried their DNA. Taeho smiled as understanding dawned. The Federation had exiled him to die in empty space. Instead they had sent him home. The years in exile had changed Kim Taeho. His black hair now showed silver at the temples. Lines around his eyes spoke of long nights studying ancient technology and longer days building something the galaxy had never seen. He stood on the bridge of the new dawn, watching through the main viewport as another ship took shape in the asteroid field. The vessel emerging from the hidden construction bay looked nothing like Federation designs. Its hull curved like flowing water, covered in patterns that seemed to shift in the light. Ancient crystal technology ran through every surface, giving the ship capabilities that would make Federation admirals weep with envy. It could jump between stars without using hyperspace lanes. Its weapons could punch through any known shield. Most importantly, it was invisible to every sensor the major powers used. "Beautiful work," said Park Min-seo as she joined him at the viewport. The former Federation engineer had arrived 5 years ago, fleeing after she refused to design weapons for use against human colonies. Now she oversaw construction of their growing fleet. "The crew reports all systems running perfectly. We can launch her tomorrow." Taeho nodded. "How many does that make?" 47 combat vessels, 12 transports, and 6 specialized ships for rescue operations. Min-seo pulled up a holographic display showing their forces. Each one crewed by volunteers who believe in what we are building here. The Outer Dominion had grown slowly at first. Taeho spent the first 3 years alone on the ancient world, learning to read the crystal archives and understand the technology left behind. The ruins held the complete history of the ancients, including detailed instructions for their most advanced creations. Starships that could repair themselves. Weapons that drew power directly from stars. Construction systems that could build entire fleets from raw asteroids. The first refugees found him in year 4. A group of human families fleeing the destruction of their colony. The Federation had traded their world to the hegemony in exchange for mining rights in another system. Taeho used ancient technology to hide them and began building proper shelters in the asteroid field surrounding the dead world. More came after that. Federation deserters who could not stomach following orders to abandon human settlements. Alien species who had suffered under council policies. Pirates and mercenaries looking for a cause worth fighting for. Each new arrival brought skills, knowledge, and burning anger at the corrupt system they had left behind. "Commander," called out Lee Jae-won from the communication station. The young man had been born on New Busan, the colony Taeho had tried to save 15 years ago. His parents died in the destruction that followed, but Jae-won survived and eventually found his way to the Outer Dominion. Incoming transmission from Agent Sparrow. Taeho walked to the communication console. Agent Sparrow was Lee Sung-min, a former Federation intelligence officer who now coordinated their spy network in civilized space. He had volunteered for the dangerous job of staying behind enemy lines to gather information and recruit new members. The holographic image that appeared showed a middle-aged man with tired eyes. He sat in what looked like a cheap hotel room, probably changing locations every few hours to avoid Federation security. "Commander," Sung-min said quietly, "I have updates from 3 sectors. The situation is getting worse for human colonies." "Tell me," Taeho replied. The Federation just agreed to hand over the new Soul mining colony to the Crystalline Collective. 2 million humans will be relocated to a desert world with no infrastructure. The Council calls it a peaceful population exchange. Sung-min's voice carried barely controlled anger. The colony administrator sent a secret message begging for help. Taeho exchanged glances with Min-seo. New Seoul was one of the oldest human settlements outside the Sol system. Its massive mining operations provided rare minerals that powered half the Federation fleet. Trading it away would leave those humans with nothing. "What about the other colonies?" Taeho asked. "New Gwangju is under pressure to accept a hegemony occupation force. The Federation claims it is for protection, but we both know what that means. New Incheon reports that alien traders are demanding exclusive rights to their agricultural output. If they refuse, the Federation will withdraw their defense fleet." The same pattern repeated across human space. The Federation used human colonies as bargaining chips in negotiations with more powerful species. When humans resisted, they lost Federation protection and usually ended up destroyed or enslaved. The Council considered it an acceptable price for galactic stability. Any good news? Minicio asked. Sungmin smiled slightly. Actually, yes. Word is spreading about the Outer Dominion. 3 more Federation officers have requested contact. A human merchant captain wants to defect with his entire crew. Most importantly, someone leaked footage of our ships to the underground networks. That was interesting news. Tejo had kept their fleet hidden from Federation sensors, but apparently someone had managed to record them during a rescue operation. If the footage was spreading, it meant humans throughout the galaxy now knew that someone was fighting back. What kind of reaction are you seeing? Tejo asked. Hope, Sungmin said simply. For the first time in years, humans believe that someone cares about protecting them. Colony governors are asking how they can make contact. Federation military officers are questioning their orders. Even some alien species are wondering if they backed the wrong side. Tejo walked back to the viewport. In the distance, construction crews worked on 2 more ships. Ancient technology allowed them to build quickly, but each vessel still required months of careful work. They had 47 combat ships now. The Federation maintained over 10,000. But Federation ships used old technology and were crewed by people following orders they did not believe in. Tejo's fleet used impossible ancient systems and was crewed by volunteers fighting for something they believed in completely. When the time came for open conflict, he was confident about the outcome. Continue gathering intelligence, he told Sungmin. Begin making contact with the colony governors who want our help. But be careful. We are not ready for open war yet. Understood, Commander. Sparrow out. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Through the viewport, Tejo watched his growing fleet prepare for the battles to come. The Federation battlecruiser Imperator was patrolling the outer rim when it simply disappeared. One moment, the massive warship was transmitting routine status reports. The next, nothing but empty space remained where it had been flying. Admiral Choi Woojin watched the captured vessel through the viewport of his flagship, the Shadowhawk. The Imperator now bore the dark blue markings of the Outer Dominion fleet. Ancient technology had made the capture almost too easy. Dominion ships could appear and disappear like ghosts, striking before Federation forces knew they were there. Status report, Woojin called to his bridge crew. All systems secured, replied Captain Song Haijin, her voice coming through the communication system from her own ship, the Silent Blade. The crew fought bravely but they never had a chance against our weapons. No survivors as ordered. Woojin nodded grimly. He took no pleasure in killing fellow military officers, but the Shadow War required complete secrecy. The Federation could not learn about Dominion capabilities too soon. Every captured ship, every rescued colony, every liberation operation had to look like accidents or unexplained disappearances. Begin integration procedures, he ordered. I want the Imperator ready for combat operations within the week. The Imperator was their 15th captured Federation vessel. Each one added to their growing strength while weakening the enemy. More importantly, each disappearance spread fear through Federation ranks. Military patrols now traveled in larger groups. Officers requested transfers away from rim territories. The Federation was beginning to fear its own shadow. 3 sectors away, another Dominion operation was beginning. Captain Lim Du-hyun crouched behind a rocky outcrop on the mining world of Kepler 186F, watching the slave camp through his enhanced vision goggles. 2,000 human prisoners worked in the open-pit mines below, guarded by hegemony soldiers and their Federation allies. The camp had been operating for 3 years. The Federation had traded the mining rights to the hegemony in exchange for a non-aggression pact. The human colonists who already lived on the world became property of their new alien masters. Federation records listed them as relocated to other worlds. In reality, they dug rare metals from their own soil while Federation officials counted their profits. Teams in position, whispered Lieutenant Park Soo-young through his earpiece. Guard towers neutralized. Transport ships ready for extraction. Du-hyun checked his chronometer. In exactly 30 seconds the camp would lose power. Dominion hackers had spent weeks infiltrating the security systems, waiting for this moment. The attack would look like equipment failure followed by a prisoner revolt. The hegemony guards would simply disappear, their weapons and vehicles destroyed by mysterious explosions. Execute, Du-hyun whispered. The camp went dark. Emergency lighting flickered on for a few seconds then died as well. In the confusion that followed, Dominion troops moved like shadows through the facility. Silent weapons eliminated guards before they could raise an alarm. Explosives destroyed communication equipment and vehicle parks. Within 10 minutes, the compound was secure. "Attention prisoners," Do-hyun called through a portable speaker system. "This is Captain Lim of the Outer Dominion. You are being rescued. Move to the marked assembly areas immediately. Transport ships are coming." The response was chaos at first. Some prisoners thought it was a trick. Others were too weak to move quickly. Many wept when they realized their nightmare was finally over. Dominion medics moved through the crowd, treating the sick and injured while soldiers guided families toward the waiting transport ships. By dawn, the camp was empty. The hegemony guards were dead, their bodies dissolved by ancient technology that left no trace. The mining equipment was destroyed beyond repair. Most importantly, 2,000 human slaves were free and on their way to hidden Dominion bases. When hegemony reinforcements arrived the next day, they found only empty buildings and a message burned into the ground in their own language: "The Dominion protects its own." On New Seoul Colony, Governor Park Jae-sung sat in his private office, reviewing reports that would never be sent to Federation headquarters. His world was scheduled for transfer to the Crystalline Collective in 6 months. 2 million humans would be relocated to make room for alien colonists who valued the planet's unique mineral resources. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called. A woman in maintenance coverall stepped inside. She looked like any other technician, but Jae-sung recognized her immediately. Agent Han So-young had been making contact with colonial governors throughout human space, building a network of resistance to Federation policies. "The shipments arrived yesterday," So-young said quietly, closing the door behind her. "Medical supplies, emergency rations and some special equipment. Everything is hidden in the locations we discussed." Jae-sung nodded. The special equipment included ancient technology weapons that could punch through any armor the Federation used. When the time came to resist the transfer, New Seoul would be ready to fight back. "What about the other colonies?" he asked. "New Busan has confirmed their participation. New Taegu is still deciding, but their governor seems sympathetic. We expect a decision within the week." So-young pulled up a holographic map showing human-controlled worlds throughout the sector. Green dots marked colonies that had agreed to join the resistance. Yellow dots showed worlds still considering the offer. Red dots indicated colonies where Federation security was too tight for safe contact. "The word is spreading," So-young continued. "People are talking about the ghost fleet that rescues human prisoners. About the mysterious ships that disappear Federation patrols. About the commander who was exiled 15 years ago and has returned to protect his people." Jae-sung smiled. Kim Tae-ho had become a legend among human colonists. Children sang songs about the exile who became their protector. Adults whispered stories of impossible rescues and vanishing enemies. Most had never seen a Dominion ship, but they all believed in what those ships represented. "How many are ready to fight?" Jae-sung asked. "More every day," So-young replied. "Colonial militias are training with the weapons we provided. Civilian volunteers are learning to operate communication networks and supply lines. When Commander Kim gives the signal, we will be ready." Through his office window, Jae-sung could see the lights of New Seoul City. 2 million people lived normal lives down there, not knowing that their world hung in the balance. In 6 months they would face a choice: submit to alien occupation or fight for their freedom. Thanks to the Outer Dominion, they would have the tools to choose freedom. The attack began at exactly 0600 hours, Galactic Standard Time, across 40 star systems. On worlds throughout Federation space, people woke to find strange ships appearing in their skies. The vessels seemed to materialize from nothing, their dark hulls gleaming with patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Vengeance, as it dropped out of hyperspace above Federation Prime. Around him, the largest fleet ever assembled by human hands spread across the void. 200 warships, each one equipped with ancient technology that made Federation vessels look like toys. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Lee Min-jun. The young man had been born on a colony the Federation had traded away to hostile aliens. His parents died in the occupation that followed. Now he had a chance for justice. Tae-ho walked to the main holographic display. It showed Federation Prime's defensive fleet scrambling to respond to the sudden appearance of hostile forces. 12 battleships, 30 cruisers and over 100 smaller vessels. On paper they outnumbered the Dominion fleet. In reality they were already defeated. "Open channels to all Federation worlds," Tae-ho ordered. Full broadcast on all frequencies. The communication system activated. Across the galaxy, every screen, every radio, every communication device suddenly displayed the same image. Kim Tae-ho, the captain who had been exiled 15 years ago, now wore the uniform of an admiral. Behind him, the bridge of his impossible ship showed technology that should not exist. Citizens of the galaxy, Tae-ho's voice carried to billions of listeners. 15 years ago you cast me out as a criminal. My crime was protecting human lives when your leaders preferred alien gold. Today I return not as the man you exiled but as your judge. On Federation Prime, Council Prime Veltar watched the broadcast from his emergency command center deep underground. His green scales had turned pale with fear. Around him, alien council members argued in a dozen languages, their voices rising in panic. How many ships? Veltar demanded of his military advisors. At least 200, sir, replied Admiral Kextar, his four arms gesturing frantically at tactical displays. But their capabilities are beyond anything in our databases. Our sensors show impossible energy readings. Their weapons are cutting through our shields like they do not exist. On the main display, the Federation's finest battleship, the Invincible, exploded in a ball of fire. The Dominion ship that had destroyed it was barely a quarter of its size, but its weapons had punched through military-grade shields and armor like they were made of paper. Sir, called another officer, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 Federation fleets. They are asking to join the attacking forces. Veltar's yellow eyes went wide with shock. What? The truth was spreading through Federation military units faster than official communications could travel. The mysterious admiral leading the attack was Kim Tae-ho, the human officer who had sacrificed his career to protect civilians. The forces destroying Federation defenses were not alien invaders, but human ships crewed by Federation refugees and deserters. Captain Yong Woo-sung commanded the Federation cruiser Determination when the message reached his ship. He had served the Federation for 20 years, following orders that increasingly made no sense. Orders to abandon human colonies. Orders to ignore distress calls from ships carrying human passengers. Orders to serve alien interests while his own people suffered. Sir, his communications officer reported, Admiral Kim is requesting our surrender. He guarantees fair treatment for all crew members who lay down their weapons. Young looked around his bridge. Every face showed the same conflict. They had sworn oaths to serve the Federation, but those same oaths demanded they protect innocent lives. The Federation had forgotten that part of their duty. Kim Tae-ho had not. Signal the Admiral, Young said quietly. The Determination surrenders and requests to join his fleet. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Human crews mutinied against alien commanders. Mixed species units split along racial lines. Entire battle fleets changed sides without firing a shot. The Federation military dissolved as quickly as ice in boiling water. General Han So-young led the ground assault on Federation military headquarters. Her troops moved through the massive complex like ghosts, their ancient technology armor making them nearly invisible to sensors. Federation security forces found their weapons useless against shields that absorbed energy like sponges. Resistance is crumbling, reported Colonel Park Jin-woo from the communications center. We have secured the main computer cores and arrested the senior staff. No casualties among our forces. So-young nodded as she walked through corridors that had once seemed impossibly secure. Federation officers sat with their hands behind their heads, guarded by soldiers they had once commanded. Many looked relieved to be captured. They had grown tired of serving a system that valued alien approval over human lives. Captain Lim Do-hyun's task force secured Crossroads Station without a fight. The massive space station controlled hyperspace traffic for 6 major sectors. Its commander, a veteran human officer named Captain Oh Sang-woo, met them at the docking bay with his entire crew. Captain Lim, Sang-woo said formally, Crossroads Station surrenders to the Outer Dominion. We have disabled all defensive systems and prepared the station for your use. Do-hyun accepted the surrender with mixed feelings. These were good officers who had served faithfully under bad orders. They deserved better than the system that had failed them. You and your crew are welcome to join our cause, Do-hyun offered. We need experienced personnel to operate this station. Sang-woo smiled for the first time in years. We would be honored, sir. Within 3 weeks, the Federation's core worlds had fallen. Council Prime Veltar and his remaining alien supporters fled to their home systems, taking what wealth they could carry. The humans they had once ruled with casual cruelty now hunted them across the galaxy with advanced ships and burning anger. On distant worlds, Alien populations watched news broadcasts showing human fleets sweeping aside defenses that had seemed invincible. The species they had dismissed as weak and expendable had somehow acquired technology beyond their understanding. More frightening, they had acquired the will to use it. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted completely. The humans who had once begged for scraps from the Federation table now owned the table, the room, and everything in it. The exiled captain had become an emperor, and his empire stretched farther than anyone had imagined possible. In hidden bases throughout human space, colonial militias celebrated as news of victory reached them. The Ghost Fleet was no longer hiding in the shadows. The protective force they had hoped for was real, powerful, and coming to liberate every human world still under alien control. The revolution had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. Emperor Kim Tae-ho walked slowly across the marble floor of the Grand Council chamber. His boots made the same echoing sound they had 15 years ago, but everything else had changed. The high seats that once held alien representatives now contained his own appointees. Humans, mostly, but also aliens who had proven their loyalty to the new order. Where the Council Prime's throne had once stood, a simpler chair now waited. Tae-ho had no interest in the elaborate displays of power that the old Federation had loved. His authority came from the fleet that had conquered the galaxy, not from golden decorations or fancy ceremonies. The surviving Federation leaders knelt on the floor before him. Council Prime Veltar was there, his green scales dull with fear and exhaustion. His yellow eyes no longer held the cold arrogance that had once sentenced a human captain to exile. Beside him knelt the other alien officials who had thought humans were expendable in their grand schemes for galactic peace. 15 years ago, you stood in these seats and judged me, Tae-ho said, his voice carrying easily through the vast chamber. You called me a criminal for protecting human lives. You said humans were expendable for the greater good. He paused, looking down at the beings who had once held absolute power over billions of lives. They looked so small now, kneeling on the floor where they had once looked down on others with casual contempt. You taught me an important lesson that day, Tae-ho continued. You showed me that power makes right. That the strong decide the fate of the weak. That mercy is a luxury only winners can afford. Veltar raised his head slightly. Your Majesty, he said, his voice barely a whisper. We were trying to maintain peace across thousands of worlds. Sometimes difficult choices had to be made. Difficult choices, Tae-ho repeated. Like trading human colonies to hostile species. Like abandoning civilians to slavers. Like using my people as bargaining chips in your diplomatic games. His voice grew colder. You found it very easy to make those difficult choices when they did not affect your own species. Fleet Admiral Park Min-seo stepped forward from her position behind the throne. The former Federation engineer now wore the dark blue uniform of the Imperial Navy, her chest covered with ribbons representing battles fought and worlds liberated. Your Majesty, Min-seo said formally, the reorganization of former Federation territories is complete. All systems have accepted Imperial governance. The transition has been surprisingly peaceful. Tae-ho nodded. The conquest had been easier than expected once Federation military forces began switching sides. Most worlds had welcomed the change in leadership, especially human colonies that had suffered under alien rule. Even many alien populations seemed relieved to have stable government again, after years of corrupt Federation policies. What about resistance movements? Tae-ho asked. Minimal, sir. A few hardline Federation loyalists in the outer sectors, but nothing our forces cannot handle. Most former Federation officials have requested to serve in the new government. They seem eager to prove their loyalty to the Empire. That was not surprising either. The Empire offered something the Federation never had. Competent leadership focused on results rather than political games. Trade was flowing again. Pirate activity had dropped to almost zero. Colonial governors actually worked to improve life for their populations instead of sending tribute to alien homeworlds. And the special cases? Tae-ho asked quietly. Min-seo's expression grew serious. The hegemony leadership has been dealt with according to your orders. Their slave camps are closed and the prisoners freed. The Crystalline Collective has agreed to return all human territories taken in the past decade. The species that participated in the new Sol occupation have paid appropriate compensation. Appropriate compensation meant their governments no longer existed. Tae-ho had learned the Federation's most important lesson very well. Sometimes difficult choices had to be made. The difference was that his difficult choices protected human lives instead of sacrificing them. Your Majesty, Veltar spoke again, his voice shaking. What will happen to us? Tae-ho looked down at the former Council Prime. The alien who had once held the power of life and death over trillions now begged for mercy from the human he had exiled to die in empty space. "You will have the same choice you offered human colonies," Teho said calmly. "Serve the Empire loyally and you will be treated fairly. Cause trouble, and you will be exiled beyond the rim just as you exiled me." He paused. "The difference is that I actually mean it when I promise fair treatment." Relief flickered in Veltar's yellow eyes. Even exile was better than the death sentence he had expected. The new Emperor was showing more mercy than the Federation had ever shown to humans. "Take them to processing," Teho ordered the guards. "Standard loyalty screening and job placement. Anyone with useful skills can find work in the new government. Anyone who cannot adapt to the changed circumstances can retire comfortably on a pension." As the former Federation leaders were led away, Minicio approached the throne. "The Earth delegation is waiting in the antechamber, Your Majesty. They seem very nervous." Teho almost smiled. Earth, the birth world of humanity, had sent diplomats to negotiate readmission to human space. The same planet that had allowed his exile now begged to join his empire. The irony was almost too perfect. "Let them wait a few more minutes," he said. "It will do them good to consider how dramatically things have changed." Through the tall windows of the council chamber, Teho could see the space traffic around the former Federation capital. Ships bearing the dark blue colors of the Imperial Navy moved in perfect formations. Merchant vessels carried goods between worlds that were finally free to trade without alien interference. Construction ships worked on new defenses powered by ancient technology. The transformation had taken only 6 months. 6 months to tear down a corrupt system that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. 6 months to build something better in its place. The human species would never again be at the mercy of alien powers who saw them as expendable. Minicio followed his gaze to the viewport. "Do you ever regret how it turned out, sir? The exile, the years in the Outer Rim, all the fighting?" Teho considered the question seriously. He thought about the young captain who had stood in this same chamber 15 years ago, stripped of rank and citizenship for the crime of protecting his own people. That man had expected to die alone in empty space, forgotten by history. Instead, exile had been the greatest gift his enemies could have given him. It had freed him from loyalty to a system that did not deserve it. It had led him to ancient technology that recognized humans as the rightful heirs to the galaxy. Most importantly, it had given him the motivation to build something better than what he had lost. "No regrets," he said finally. "They meant my exile as a death sentence. Instead, they freed me to become what I was always meant to be. The human race would never be expendable again."